I believe it's not an exaggeration to say that builds in Diablo 4 will undergo a fundamental transformation when compared to the previous installments of the game. Our understanding for loot and build crafting in Diablo 4 just received a massive upgrade in the form of leaked game files. You will gain extensive insight into legendary items and legendary affixes in the game, and more importantly, an overview of the new rarity, the unique items in Diablo 4, about which we knew very little until now. We will take a closer look at all of this in this video. But before we delve into the details of the legendaries and unique items, I'd like to briefly talk about loot in general, especially during the beta phase. If you'd like to skip this part, feel free to use the timestamps provided in the video description down below. Since the open beta, the community has been concerned that the equipment, particularly the legendary items with their legendary affixes, could be too bland, too one-dimensional. For one, during the beta we were showered with legendary items. However, fear not, General Manager Rod Ferguson has already confirmed that the drop rate for legendary items was significantly increased for the beta to provide more fun and insight into possible builds in the finished game for us, the players, and of course to give the team more data to analyze and stuff to balance for release. We can therefore expect that in the full release, legendaries will either be considerably rarer or will only drop more frequently in higher levels and on higher world tiers. Even during, but also after the beta, there were some voices expressing that the loot and especially the legendary affixes did not feel good. Some found the affixes to be too generic, while others felt there were too many specific buffs that would restrict builds or push players in one particular direction. A simple example would be playing a lightning mage, then finding a legendary item with the affix that allows you to spawn 2 hydras instead of 1. This legendary affix is so powerful that it would be foolish not to adjust your build to utilize it. The concern here, of course, is that overly strong and specific items would force players into certain builds and therefore limiting creativity in designing builds. But I'm curious, what do you think? Did you enjoy the loot and itemization in the beta, or are you more critical of this aspect? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. But Rod Ferguson has also nicely put it on Twitter. Game balance is a journey, not a destination. We can assume that tweaks and adjustments will be made before the release on June 6th and afterward. While I can understand the criticism of limited build crafting, it's also worth noting that we only had 26 of the main game's 59 skill points in the beta. Additionally, we had no access to Paragon points and augmentations through the Paragon boards, which should bring even more diversity to the game. Be sure to check out my video on Diablo 4's endgame for detailed information on the Paragon system. You can find the link displayed on screen or in the video description below. In general, more legendary loot and diverse affixes would significantly alleviate the feeling of restricted and controlled build crafting. It's a good thing that Associated Game Director Joseph Pipiora has already mentioned on Twitter that we have no idea how many more legendary affixes are actually in the game and that we only saw about half of them in the beta. Although that's true, thanks to recent data mining of the beta game files, we now have a much better impression of what will be possible and can even take a first look at the unique items in the game, which, according to Blizzard, will be so powerful that we will build our characters around these items. From the game files, 224 legendary affixes have been extracted. Is this the full extent of what will be included in the final game? I can't say for sure. It's possible that some of these perks will remain locked and only be released at a later time, perhaps during an event or a new season. But it's also possible that more perks will be added before the game's official launch, even though I highly doubt it. As of now, the beta game files contain 224 perks, 23 of which are generic, meaning they're not tied to any specific class. These perks include Off the Crowded Sage, which allows you to regenerate X HP for each nearby enemy, and Windstriker, which increases your movement speed when you land critical hits. There may only be 23 generic, cross-class perks at the moment, but personally I'd like to see at least twice as many. However, there are still more than 200 class-specific perks, averaging about 40 for each of the 5 classes, which is quite a lot. For the Sorcerer, for example, there's Snow Guard, which reduces the damage you take while standing in your blizzard. and of Shattered Stars, which causes meteorites to rain down alongside your meteor spell, dealing additional fire damage and setting enemies ablaze with damage over time effects. For the Barbarian, there's Off Perpetual Stomping, which resets the cooldown of your leap ability when damaging an enemy with kick or ground stomp. So there are certainly some interesting mechanics here, allowing for unique playstyles to be explored. By the way, there are 115 legendary affixes available through the Codex of Power, which aligns with the developer's statement that there are over 100 dungeons in the game, each rewarding us with legendary affixes. And it also aligns with their statement that there are roughly twice as many legendary affixes on items as there are in the Codex of Power. I assume that the beta game files are complete in this regard and correspond to the final game. And if you've enjoyed the video up to this point, I'd appreciate a thumbs up as it helps out the channel a lot. If you want to stay in the loop on all things Diablo, feel free to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to avoid missing any future videos. Now let's take a look at the items that have barely been seen so far. Unique items have not yet been introduced to the public except in a Diablo blog post by Blizzard. Here we saw 3 items and learned that only 1 unique item can be equipped per character, and that these come with very special, indeed unique perks. Since the beta, we know that we can obtain these items starting at World Tier 3. Although this tier is recommended for players at level 50, it will likely be accessible earlier if you complete the corresponding dungeon in Kyovashad and, most importantly, finish the campaign. Before that, it won't be possible to acquire unique items, and even then, they'll remain extremely rare and special according to the developers. But let's examine why they are so special by looking at a few examples. Data miners have managed to extract and find these weapons and armor pieces from the open beta files. There are currently 56 unique items in the databases, which is in line with the developer's statement that there will be dozens for us to acquire at launch. The first item we'll examine is Black River, a one-handed scythe for the Necromancer. It's important to know that unique items always roll with the same base affixes, meaning they always have the same perks, but these can have different values. In addition, they also have a unique trait that can't be found anywhere else in the game. The standard affixes on this particular weapon are always X life per kill, 5 to 7 intelligence, plus 2 to 5 damage to healthy opponents, which are those with more than 80% health, plus 1 rank for the passive skill tree node Fueled by Death, which gives you plus 4% damage after consuming a corpse, and plus 2 to 4 ranks on Corpse Explosion. And lastly, there's also the legendary trait. Corpse Explosion consumes up to 4 corpses around the actual corpse, dealing X more damage for each additional corpse and increasing the radius by X meters. Did you really think after this beta that Corpse Explosion couldn't get any stronger? Yeah, well, little did you know. As you can see here in this example, almost all of the standard affixes and the unique perk come with random rolls and can drop with weaker or stronger values. Plus 4 on Corpse Explosion is already quite powerful in its own. The next item we'll take a closer look at is an old acquaintance, the two-handed sword, the Grandfather. This beast of a sword simply exudes power and strength. It comes with plus 17.5% additional crit damage, and all other normal affixes can roll higher values than usual. It also comes with additional weapon damage, more maximum life, plus 20 to 36 on all your stats, and it ignores durability loss. So this weapon never needs to be repaired. The intrinsic perk increases critical hit damage by 60 to 100%. Eager to try a crit build with the Barbarian? Then this weapon is hard to pass up. And at this point I'd like to briefly mention my partner Instant Gaming. There you can get gift cards for your respective store at the best price. Save a few bucks on your next purchase and support me in the process. Win-win. You can find all the relevant links in the video description. Next, I'd like to take a look at the Druid chest Insatiable Fury with you. The unique affix on this chest is absolutely crazy. It causes your true form to now be the Werebear. You will thus remain permanently in the shape of the bear and no longer transform back, except presumably when using skills that automatically change you into another form. In addition, you'll get +2 ranks on all werebear skills. This sounds incredibly powerful, and I believe it can be used to create some truly amazing builds. The standard affixes that come with this chest are +X physical damage, +X overpower damage, X% damage reduction when fortified, and +X armor. Yet another very interesting item is the Temerity Pants. Thanks to the unique affix, you get a barrier of 50 to 100% of your maximum life when effects heal you beyond 100% life. This barrier lasts for a full 30 seconds. This is particularly strong with builds that provide you with bonus damage as long as you have a barrier. In the beta, I played such builds on both the Sorcerer and the Druid. To help you use this effect, or your barrier, as often as possible, the pants also come with some excellent standard perks. You'll receive +2 to 3 potion charges, +12 to 26% potion drop rate, Lucky Hit has a 5% chance to give you +X healing, and you get +7 to 14% healing on top. So there's a lot of synergy in this single item alone. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 56 unique items in the game at release. With upcoming seasons and expansions, new unique loot will be continually added to the game. Personally, I find this to be an excellent way to expand the loot pool, and I believe that some items indeed have the potential to either serve as the catalyst for new builds or be the perfect enhancement for already well-functioning builds. Either way, I'm excited to collect all 56 of them. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. As always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and don't forget to check out my last video, which is displayed right here on the screen. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.